Hey everyone, Michael O'Brien here, and today we're going to take a look at the top 5 effects, my personal favorites that I perform in my act that are effects that I created. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining in and watching this video. If you didn't already see it last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, I actually put together a top 5 list of my favorite pieces of magic to perform in my act that are not creations of mine, effects that were created by someone else that I decided I loved enough to include in my professional working material. In this video, we're going to be talking about 5 tricks that I perform in my act that are some of my favorites, but this time we're going to talk about things that I personally have created. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have not already done so, be sure to click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, all that good stuff. And keep in mind, I just launched my Mob Squad membership for only $1 a month. You guys will get access to all of my tutorials, all of my exclusive videos, early releases, all of that good stuff for just $1 a month. I've already got like 32 or 33 tutorials at the time you guys are seeing this video on the channel, and I will be releasing more and more as time goes on. Anyway, in this video, I wanted to give a quick couple of shout outs to the newest Mob Squad members. I wanted you guys to introduce Robert McLaurin and Xavier E. Thank you guys so much for joining. You guys will get access to all of that good stuff. And for everyone else watching, again, all you got to do to become a member is click the join button just below the video. Anyway, so let's go ahead and dive into the content of this video now. I think let's just go ahead and jump right into it. At number 5, and these aren't necessarily in the most specific order, but I'm gonna try to put them in order of favor. They're all my favorites, but I'm gonna try my best to put them in some sort of order. But at number 5 is my Chicago closer. Now, for those of you not familiar, it is essentially just like the Chicago opener, only it is my version of this effect. The Chicago closer is where I take a deck of cards. I have a spectator think of any card in the deck. That card is removed, shown, placed back into the deck. The cards are mixed. And then I just wave my hand over the deck and the deck instantly changes from red to blue. I show that all 52 cards have now changed and I snap my fingers. All of the cards have changed except just one red card in the deck, and that is the spectator's chosen card. I take that card, I set it aside on the table, and I say, I'm going to do it one more time, only this time I don't want to know what the card is. I don't want you to think that I'm cheating in any way. So I shuffle the deck and I let the spectator choose a second card, and that card is lost into the deck. I snap my fingers and I go through the cards looking for that single red card, but I just cannot find it. So I ask them, I'm so sorry, I can't get your card the second time around. Do you think you can tell me what that card is? They tell me, and I go looking through the deck, but I can't find it. Instead, I end up finding the first spectator's chosen card in the deck, which is impossible because I just set it down on the table. I lift the card up off the table, slowly turn it around, and it is indeed the spectator's second chosen card. But here's the best part of this whole situation. I spread all of the rest of the cards out on the table and I say, it doesn't even matter which card you would have chosen because this is all inside your imagination anyway, because all of these cards are blank. I spread them all over, or should I say I turn them all over, and all of the cards actually have blank faces now, and everything can be examined. There's nothing to see. There's no split cards or anything like that. Everything is completely examinable at this point. Now, I usually perform this for the most part as my closer anytime I'm performing a card set, and it couples really nice with my opener, which is whenever I'm doing card stuff, is my blank deck my blank deck routine called drawing a blank. So I start the routine off with a blank deck of cards, I print the deck, and then I go through all of my magic, and then at the very end I perform my Chicago closer. This is probably the one piece of card magic that I perform the most out of any other piece of card magic that I do whenever I'm doing magic with a regular deck of cards. If I'm doing a set that doesn't have any card magic in it and I want to add a solid card routine in there, usually this is the one that I will put in because it's got everything. It's got pick a card, it's got color changing deck, it's got transpositions, it's got magician in trouble, And of course, all the cards end blank. And the cards don't even have to end blank. I could maybe end with all of the cards with some kind of message revealed on them if I really wanted to. Like maybe I spread out the cards and they're all blank, but it says like happy birthday or something, you know, like if I'm doing this for like a birthday party, or happy anniversary, or congratulations or something, like if I'm doing a wedding, for example. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, and it just makes for like the perfect closer. Next up at number 4 is Have You Seen My Purse? Now this one I love because I do this in pretty much any situation. If I'm doing restaurant magic, formal close-up, parlor, even on stage you can make this play. And this, for those of you not familiar, Have You Seen My Purse is my sponge ball routine. And the reason it's called Have You Seen My Purse is because I actually bring out this like little purse frame with no bag. It's like an invisible purse, right? And I open it up and I start pulling sponge balls out of this purse frame. I go on to do a lot of fun little bits where the ball goes in, it vanishes, I can show everything open, I pull the ball back out, I hand the spectator the purse frame, and I have like 100 balls coming out of the purse frame over and over and over and over again. And then there's a moment where I hand the spectator an invisible, I hand them the invisible purse, and I ask another spectator to, you know, have their hand closed like this. And I have spectator A pretend to take a ball out of the purse and throw it into spectator B's hand. Spectator B opens their hand, and now the balls have multiplied in their hand. So there's like a lot of fun things you can do with it. I then take that purse and I use it over and over during my act to kind of tie this thread through like my whole set. So later on during the act, I'll open up the purse frame and I'll take out a handkerchief and like wipe the sweat away. Put the handkerchief back in, show that the handkerchief has vanished, and then place it back inside my jacket. Or I will use the purse frame to pull out the Sharpie when they need to sign a card, things like that. So the purse frame actually pops up over and over again during my routine. It's just a really fun piece of magic, and it's an interesting prop. I almost always use it as an opener when I'm performing a set that doesn't involve cards, or if it does involve cards, usually I'll use this as like the hot opener or cold opener, whatever you want to call it, like the first thing that I do. And then if I'm gonna go into like a blank deck routine, for example, like how I talked about with Chicago Closer, I'll take out the blank deck and I'll go into the blank deck routine after I've done this sponge ball opener. It's just a really interesting prop, you know, this invisible purse. And the one thing that I love about doing it is I'll say, before I start my act, I have one question for all of you. Have you seen my purse? And then instantly everyone starts laughing and they look at it and they're like, what the heck is that? Like, it doesn't even have a bag. It draws them in, it gets their attention here, but also it lightens the mood. Like, people get it, like, okay, like this is gonna be like a fun show. It's not like anything serious or anything like that. I'll be like, you know, it's Gucci. Well, I mean, it was. It's, you know, missing the Gucci part. And then I start pulling sponge balls out of it and stuff. So, have you seen my purse? It's awesome. All right, at number 3 is NES Deck. So this is a newer one I actually added to my material. If you guys want to learn this trick and the ins and outs and secrets behind it, I actually teach it right here on my channel. Of course, you have to be a Mob Squad member to be able to watch that. So go ahead and click that join button if you guys want access to this tutorial. Essentially what NES Deck is I introduce an actual Nintendo console, like the original Nintendo console, the Nintendo Entertainment System from like the 1980s, and like the big old bulk cartridges, right? I take out a bunch of these cartridges and I talk about how I used to play this as a kid, how it's a huge piece of nostalgia for me, all that good stuff. And then what I end up doing is I say, you know, I wanted to make a deck of cards out of these cartridges and be like, pick a game, any game, but you know, making a deck of like 50 of my favorite games would be like 3 stories tall because these cartridges are like this thick each. So instead, I actually gathered 50 of my favorite games using these Nintendo collectors, like trading cards. And I take out a deck and I show a bunch of different Nintendo game trading cards. So what I do is I say, okay, I want like 4 or 5 spectators to each choose a Nintendo game from the stack, memorize that Nintendo game and put it back inside the deck, and I'm gonna try to see if I can guess which Nintendo game you are thinking of. So I have 5 different spectators choose a game, they all memorize their games, the cards are put back into the deck is put away, not even introducing the deck anymore at this point. It's out of sight, out of mind. I'm not even touching the cards anymore at this point. So now I have those 5 spectators that chose a card stand up, and I'm thinking about which cards they chose. And I'm like, Metroid, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Super Mario Brothers 2. Maybe Kirby's Dream Land or Superstar. I forget which one it is, whatever the NES game is. And then the last one would be like, Contra. And I'll say, if I got your game right, I want you to all sit down. Everyone will sit down except one person doesn't sit. The person who I guessed Contra and I got it wrong. They were not thinking of Contra. They were thinking of Double Dragon instead. And so I say, oh, that's really interesting. Double Dragon is actually the last game that I played. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, look, inside the NES console is actually the Double Dragon game. And then they can come up, they can open the console, they can take out the game, and it is indeed Double Dragon. And the really cool thing about it is that the selection process is super fair. It's super clean. I don't force the card, right? I don't riffle force the card, or there's no classic forcing or anything. It's like, you want this card, this card, this card. It doesn't matter. Just take a card. And the trick still works. And you can do it with as many people as you want. I mean, you can have like 20 people choose cards really technically if you wanted. So this is a really fun piece of magic, and it's super nostalgic for me. For those of you who know my personality and know my act, you know that I'm all about, like nostalgia. My show, my formal show that I perform is literally called Box Full of Nostalgia. Because while I'm doing the magic, I introduce like this cardboard box that's like all beat up, and it says Mike's stuff written in like Sharpie on the side of it. And I talk about how I found this box in my garage, and it's full of like all my childhood memories. And I start pulling stuff out of it. My NES system being one of them, with a bunch of the games and the trading cards. So this is just a really awesome and fun piece of magic to perform. It holds a special place in my heart because I grew up playing these old school Nintendo games, especially with my late grandfather, who was the one that bought the console for him to play like with me. I was like really little. I was like maybe 4 years old when we got this console. But I remember, playing like Super Mario Brothers and stuff with him. And it makes my heart so happy to think about those times. And so when I actually include a piece of my childhood, like a legitimate piece of my childhood, in my magic performance, it just really makes it special. Now, if you don't like Nintendo, that's totally fine. The thing that I love about this routine is you can kind of do it with anything. Like, let's just say maybe you are a sports fan. Instead of using Nintendo, you can use baseball cards, right? And maybe the last one that you were thinking of was, you're like, I don't know, was it Nomar Garcia Pera? And they say, no, it wasn't. It was actually Derek Jeter that I was thinking of. And you're like, huh, that's interesting, because Derek Jeter is actually my favorite player. And then they're like, okay. And you're like, no, but seriously, look. And then you take off your shirt, and it turns out you're actually wearing like a Derek Jeter jersey, like under your shirt or something, like Jeter #2 on the back, like some kind of cool reveal like that. Or maybe you are like a gospel magician and you love doing magic like at church or during worship or whatever, right? You can do the same thing and have maybe spectators pick out Bible verses, and then you try to guess the last Bible verse, but you get it wrong. And then you say, what Bible verse were you thinking of? They tell you, and they say, well, wait a minute, that's really weird. I'm actually on that chapter in the Bible right now, because I'm reading through it. I think I'm actually maybe even on that verse. And then you have them look at the Bible that's been sitting there in plain view. It's got a bookmark in the page. They open the bookmark, and it's marking the page that the verse that the spectator was thinking of is on, or something like that, So you can make it however you want. You can get as creative with it as you want and make it fit your own personality. All right, number 2 is the manga book test. Now again, just like I said with NES Deck, I am all about nostalgia during my show, and anything that I love outside of magic, I try my best to inject that into my performance. So I'm always talking about things that I love outside of magic, whether it be music or my family, my daughter, my wife, my Irish heritage. I'm very proud of it. That's why I use Guinness. It's why I wear the hat. during my act, etc. And for a long time growing up, I was super into anime. And I had a bunch of manga growing up, and I watched a bunch of anime growing up. And I legitimately did, about a year or so ago, start taking stuff out, because we had moved into my new apartment, right? And so we started taking stuff from my in-laws' house, who we were using his garage as like storage. We started taking stuff out, and I discovered a box of, again, a bunch of my old like manga stuff, and my Nintendo games, and all that stuff was in there, right? So what I decided was, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could do a book test with these? I'm already doing Josh Sandman's book test. Wouldn't it be cool if I could do a book test instead with this manga? So I actually ended up putting together a bunch of different ideas using ordinary manga. It's not like magic manga. I didn't go to like Penguin Magic and buy these books. These are ordinary manga off the shelf. And I put together a mind reading routine using them. And the mind reading routine isn't just think of a word from this book and I'm going to read your mind. Like, there's a lot of different things going on there. At one point, I have a spectator think of any Pokemon character, and there's like an envelope that's behind me. And I say, wouldn't it be interesting if the Pokemon character you were thinking of in your mind was actually on a piece of paper right inside of this envelope? Wouldn't that be amazing? They say yes. I open it up and I pull out like the complete Pokemon encyclopedia with like all of the Pokemon in there. And it's like a little gag, right? And then later on, I do the book test using like a Pokemon book, and they're thinking of a Pokemon character. And I say, the word that you're thinking of, it's like a number, right? And they're like, yeah, kinda. And I'm like, okay. And I write down, and I turn it around and I say, this is what I got. Is this right? And I write down 150. And they're like, no. And I'm like, it's not like 150 or maybe like $1.50. And they're like, no. What word were you thinking of? Mewtwo. Wait a minute. Mewtwo is a Pokemon character. Remember that encyclopedia that we showed you before? Go ahead and open to entry 150, and they flip through. They open to entry 150, and it is Mewtwo. So it's like sort of prediction thing, right? But the point is it's sort of a magician in trouble, but then I end up getting it right, and the word is revealed in a very interesting and clever way, not just think of the word, you're thinking of Mewtwo, right? I do like a Death Note version of this, where I actually have like the Death Note manga. They choose a character's name from the Death Note manga, and then I show that in the actual Death Note notebook, because I actually have like a Death Note notebook, right? And then I open up the Death Note notebook, and I show that the character who they were thinking of is the name that I wrote as a prediction in the Death Notebook. And then it's actually revealed that there's a piece of paper inside the Death Notebook, and I turn it around and it's actually a page from the manga. And then I hand them that page and I say, does this page look familiar? They say, yes, this is the same page as the one that I was on. And I say, wait a minute, hold on. And we open the Death Note manga, and there's a page missing from the Death Note manga. And then I take that page and I show it's not only like the page that they were looking at, it's actually the exact page that they were looking at. So I use like the Pegasus page idea using like the manga. And again, it's using like ordinary manga, right? This isn't a special book that you have to buy or anything. I do like multiple tossed out versions using like Lupin the Third and Inuyasha manga. I have like a hypnosis variation where I show a manga that's all in Japanese. It's like the Detective Conan manga. I show it's all in Japanese. And then I hypnotize the person to think of a word from the book, even though they can't read Japanese. And then I'm able to read their mind and tell them what word they were thinking of in a language that they can't read. So like there's a lot of really fun things you can do with it. But the only reason I can do any of that stuff is just because I love manga so much that I decided to take the time to sit down and just build a routine around it. All right, last but not least, probably the most requested piece of magic in my act is my Pokemon card routine. So this is like a card to pocket / card to Pokeball effect. And all it really is a card to pocket routine at its heart. I mean, the card jumps to my pocket a few times, Then the whole deck jumps to my pocket, all except for the one card, and then the one card vanishes completely and it ends up folded up inside of the Pokeball. So this is the same card to pocket routine that I've been performing pretty much my whole career, but I just told myself, you know, like I really want to do card magic at kids shows, but kids don't really know like what a 6 of clubs or like a 7 of spades is. They don't know these symbols. They don't understand. So what can I do to make it, you know, easier for them to understand? And I thought, well, I don't know, maybe with using like Pokemon cards or something, because kids don't know what a 7 of spades is, but they know what Pikachu is. So if they saw Pikachu go into the deck and then jump to the top of the deck or into my pocket or whatever, they would be able to follow that. Hence the Pokemon routine was born. All I really did was just retheme the trick using Pokemon cards, using a Pokeball instead of like a mint tin or a wallet. And I take off my newsboy hat and I throw on my Ash Ketchum hat. And I have like the Pokemon theme song music playing and everything. And the original idea was to do this as like a kids show version of the trick, but it ended up being so nostalgic for a lot of adults, because a lot of the people that I perform for that have little kids now are like my age. And so they grew up with this too. So it's full of nostalgia for them as well, not just for the kids, even though the kids obviously really enjoy it. So it's just a really fun routine that kind of fell into my lap, the idea. And so I just kind of ran with it and I put together this routine, and it's just super fun. And honestly, it's one of the most, like I said, one of the most requested pieces of magic in my act, but also one of my favorite. It's just very near and dear to my heart. For the longest time, I was using this as my closer. Since I've added like the manga and the Nintendo stuff now, I've kind of had to reorganize the effects and all that stuff to kind of fit in like the whole thing. But it's just a really solid piece of magic, and it's a lot of fun. It's visual. It can be seen from close up, from a stage. You can get a kid up on stage to help you. You can have a parent come help you. Even if people don't know what Pokemon is, which like 99% of like people in the world know what Pokemon is, they're still going to get something out of it because they're still watching a card vanish, appear in my pocket, the whole deck disappears, and then the card ends up in some kind of impossible location. So even if they don't know what Pokemon is, it still really works for them. But yeah, this is like my favorite piece of magic that I've ever performed. And it's, like I said, it's one that is near and dear to my heart. The whole Pokemon thing and you know, the whole nostalgia angle, it just fits perfectly into my box full of nostalgia show that I do. But more importantly, it really fits my personality. So if there's one piece of advice I can roll into this video, it's to find something that you love that is not magic related, something outside of magic that you really love and enjoy, and find ways to inject that into your performance. Because you'll find that the more excited about something you get, the more excited your audience will get, and the more invested your audience is going to be in your performance. Anyway, there's my top 5 list. I hope all of you guys enjoyed this. If you guys want to see more top 5 style lists in the future, let me know. I'm also curious, for those of you who follow my work, what is your #1 favorite piece of magic that I perform, that I created? I'd love to hear from you guys what you think. Whatever your favorite trick of mine is, I would love to know. And just go ahead and let me know. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.